Welcome once again to your favorite program, Fantastical Careers with Kelly Bertinelli. This is Kelly speaking, and I created this show to fulfill my goal of sharing obscure jobs and occupations across the universe. It is hard to be a young person and just think that the only careers out there are agriculture or starship mechanics. We should all be dreaming big and look forward to going into work every day. Today I'll be interviewing the foremost expert on dwarven etiquette and culture, Hazel Willowbrook. Hazel, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, Kelly, it's an honor to be asked to be on your program. Thank you very much.
Oh, trust me, the pleasure is mine. Um, so I did some research because I'm a little unfamiliar with your job. And so I was discovering that dwarven culture in the northern regions where you serve is notorious for the intricacies of their court etiquette. So I'm really interested to hear about how you navigate the complexities of your job. You currently work for King Gamden, son of Balos, son of Mallow, son of Verp, and we all know court life is a fast-paced environment. How would you describe your weekly work schedule to someone interested in court etiquette?
Well, before I dive into that question, if I may, I just want to take a moment and clarify what etiquette is. At its root, culture can be defined as a collection of values built over time by a group of people.
Mm.
No matter what species you are, everyone's heard their parents say, mind your manners, which, when you break it down, translate in all cultures to put others first. For me, manners and etiquette are synonymous terms for putting other people's needs and comfort above your own. Most adults tend to do this without thinking. For example, we chew with our mouth closed, considered it rude to wear white to a wedding, or address a dragon by the first name. My job is to help guests, and sometimes the royal family, navigate social situations with the utmost understanding of each other's traditions and cultures.
I really appreciate that definition and also the focus on people.
Hmm.
Growing up, I certainly always thought of etiquette as just an intense set of rules that are constricting as compared to seeing them as informal manners and ways of
Hmm.
living which became traditions.
Yes.
So essentially, one could say that you are an educator?
Well, you could say that, yes. I'm responsible for briefing any guest on customary clothing, dining abnormalities, conversational habits, and proper greetings. For example, that was one of the embarrassing incidents that happened to me as a student. I was unaware that it's considered impolite to smile when you're greeting someone for the first time. The first meeting must maintain a level of formality with what some people have described as very intense eye contact, so that the other individual knows that you're really paying attention to them.
I'm covering the Mines of Deathroot foot race in Jurdo next month, and I will be sure to remember that when I meet my
Oh,
dwarven
I've
hosts.
attended it several times. It's always a fun weekend.
Oh! Obadiah, son of Kurt, son of Bert, son of Hithal, is a marvelous host. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh,
But
yes.
back to our subject. You mentioned just cultural faux pas you committed as a student. So, what kind of education did you pursue to prepare for this position?
I'd like to say I was always fascinated by dwarven culture, but that really wasn't the case. When growing up, my grandparents took me on a vacation every summer. We visited the usual places like the Elvish Glades, the Shire, but the attractions in the dwarven kingdoms were always at the bottom of my list. Everything changed, though, when I went to college. I decided to study abroad, and the only scholarship I could get was in the University of Girthhollow and Bourne. The king at the time
Mm-hmm.
was Bello, son of Mello, son of Verp, son of Victor, and he was just a remarkable leader. We had to attend several workshops and seminars to keep our scholarship, and that's when I met Margaret Thistlethwaite. She was the resident court etiquette expert and responsible for answering any questions we had about dwarven culture. By the end of my first term, I had fallen in love with the people and was fascinated by their culture and decided to leave the university and go to the academy. Plus, living underground agreed with my complexion. No more brightening serums needed. I had no more dark spots because I never saw the sun, and who needed to?
Oh, that does sound like a perk. I've heard of the Dwarven Academy system that you said you went to after you left university, but I've never actually met a graduate of an academy because of how long it takes to go through their program. To my understanding, there's one in each realm, and it's sort of like trade school with less book learning. Is that a correct explanation?
For dwarves, university is where you study science, art, or weapon history. Everything else, weapon forging, mining strategies, cooking, is studied at an academy. It takes around 15 years to graduate, especially for cultural dwarvenology. The critical thing to remember about dwarvish tradition is that it's almost entirely oral. Dwarves don't believe in writing on parchment because it doesn't last long enough. They prefer to use the time tested material of stone.
Oh.
But the surface area required to write a book in stone would be beyond the practical limit. Therefore, they tend to use a form of historical shorthand where they can compile an entire genealogy or story of an ancestor onto a tablet. In the 12th dynasty, it was also common to write on stone cubes. Oh, but I digress. The academy is where you learn to decipher this shorthand while sitting under the tutelage of 19 elders. It's like a history, language, and cultural anthropology degree all rolled into one. And you can't graduate until you can recite the king's list for the last 495 generations, along with the spouses and mining exploits.
That sounds like an extraordinary amount of memorization. I don't think I clearly am not cut out for that career in particular. But before we started recording, you mentioned that the salary of etiquette experts always comes out of the state budget. And I bring that up only to reassure those listeners who are concerned about finances that this is a very stable career choice. Would you say that's true?
Oh, correct. And after you complete your 5th year of academy, the king will pay the remaining 10 years' tuition and give students a stipend.
Well, I really appreciate you spending time with me, and on behalf of the listeners, I thank you for giving us an inside look into your chosen fantastical career.
Thank you very much, Kelly, for inviting me. And I just hope that I can encourage the next generation of court etiquette experts to go forward in their calling. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Listeners, if you too have above average memorization skills, hate the sun, and have the iron will not to stare at dwarven women's beards, I suggest you reach out to your local Dwarven Academy. There is nothing to be lost by seeking to learn more, and who knows, maybe you'll end up as an etiquette expert too. That ends today's program. Shoot me a message via whatever method is customary in your culture if you have ideas about who I should interview next or a job you'd like to learn more about. I appreciate you joining us, and I'll be with you next time on Fantastical Careers with Kelly Bertinelli.